Having driven the Lamborghini Huracan at the racetrack, I was impressed by pretty much everything about it. But a few hot laps tells you very little about what a car is like to live with. So, what better way to find out than by, well, living with the car? Supercars aren't supposed to be practical. If you wanted something fast and functional, there are mental wagons and SUVs that have that covered. But that doesn't mean cars like the Huracan have to be difficult to live with. Unlike probably every other Lamborghini that's come before it, the Huracan is designed to be both fast and a bit functional. There's even a little boot to store your bags. As awkward as that may have looked, it's actually quite easy to get into and out of the Huracan. And once you're inside, there's plenty of space. There's no conventional ignition switch in the Huracan. Instead, there's this red flip-up thing that makes it feel like you're about to launch a missile. Behind that, you've got an unconventional looking gear selection system, which could foil any would-be thieves or just fool anyone who's never driven one before. While previous Lambos have had a focus on style rather than utility, there's a level of comfort and familiarity in the Huracan, and unlike previous Lambos, the pedals are logically placed. Adding to the feeling of quality inside the cabin is the fact that the Italian brand has borrowed some parts from its parent company Audi, including this new infotainment system that sits in front of the driver. It offers all your tech and connectivity needs, and it's controlled through this rotary dial system on the dash. Unfortunately, it's from Audi's old parts bin and it doesn't have that clever touchpad bit. For all its functionality, it's lucky I had my coffee earlier because there are no cup holders in here. But who cares about all that when you're driving a Lamborghini? You want to be listening to the engine, not some pop song, and you don't need navigation because driving it anywhere is going to be an adventure, isn't it? Well, let's find out. At urban speeds, the engine and gearbox work together almost seamlessly. We've noticed a little bit of crunchiness when it drops into first gear when you're coming up to a stop, but otherwise it's amazing how comfortably it cruises along, even in 7th gear at about 60 k's an hour. It doesn't feel overly wide on the road. You do have to watch yourself a little bit. It is a little bit hippie, but it's not like you're constantly looking around the car trying to see if you're going to fit everywhere. Perhaps one of the most impressive things about the Huracan is its urban ride. Going over some pretty horrible surfaces on the northern beaches, you don't really feel like it's uncomfortable. Sure, it's a bit sharp, but not more so than, say, a hot hatch. Going around roundabouts is no real chore either. Well, you do feel how stiff the car is when you exit them. There are some supercar bits that you just can't escape though. Things like the windscreen wipers and blinker controls that are on the steering wheel. So instead of stalks, you've got to be like a Formula One driver and everything's controlled on the wheel. When you approach a speed hump, you've really got to watch your speed and be ultra careful. And you do find yourself wincing a little bit when you go over sharp edged bumps because you think, well, that could be dramatic. Lamborghini recommended that we keep it in the high mode when we're driving around town, and we can see why. One thing you can't escape in a supercar is road noise, and on coarse chip surfaces like we're on now, it's almost deafening. On top of that, you've always got to contend with the fact that this is a low and swoopy car, and that means it is hard to see out of. You do have parking aids in the Huracan, including front and rear parking sensors and a rear camera, but a front camera would be ultra helpful because it's so low. The camera and sensors are part of an option pack that costs $5,700, and that doesn't mean you won't need a parking crew to help you get in and out of tight spots. Another option on our car is Nero Nemesis. That's the name of the paint colour, that matte black finish, which costs just over 20 grand. It even has stop start, which is a little bit jerky when you get going. The fact that it can deal with all the day-to-day stuff, the speed humps, the roundabouts, that sort of stuff that you just sort of forget that you're driving a supercar. It feels just like a regular car. Problem with driving around town is that you don't get to enjoy even a fraction of what that 5.2 litre V10 engine sounds like. Fortunately, not using the navigation system has landed me outside of the city limits where I can really explore the capabilities of the car. There's something menacing about having the engine behind your ears. It's just sensational sound that fills the cabin. And V10 just sounds fantastic. And like all good supercars, they're at their best when you drive them fast. Listen to that! Push the button to go to sport mode and things get even more fearsome. You hear a bit more exhaust crackle and pop. The steering firms up a little bit. The acceleration firms up a little bit too. And what's really impressive is the gearbox. It's just so quick to drop a gear and to shift up another one. The amount of grip that you've got to play with through corners is phenomenal. You can approach a tight bend faster than you really should, and you know that it's just going to get you through it smoothly. There is a little bit of understeer, but it's never painful. It may be more livable, but it's no less of a Lambo.